thanks for joining us for Sustaining Us here on KLCS PBS. I'm David Nazar. Why is there such a divide in our country over climate change? Why are Republicans and Democrats at odds over the Biden infrastructure bill? Should the U.S. be energy independent, or is the new normal depending on other countries for our oil and paying insane record gasoline prices throughout the nation? How can we bring environmentalists and polluters together? We're going to find all that out later in the broadcast. First, though, if you have not visited the city of Long Beach recently, it's worth a visit, if for no other reason, to tour the Aquarium of the Pacific. The nonprofit aquarium is basically a giant classroom with thousands of visitors each day, and where environmental challenges in search of sustainable solutions are explored. So let's begin with a tour of the aquarium. If you've never gone deep sea diving or visited a tropical island or explored the ocean, the Aquarium of the Pacific in Long Beach, California is your next best option. The Aquarium of the Pacific is all about the conservation and building of nature, the interaction of marine life and people, and the 12,000 animals that include a shark lagoon. A penguin habitat, a forest, and an animal care center. The aquarium also offers educational program for people of all ages, as well as lecture series with leading scientists through their online academy. We took a tour of the aquarium to find out about some of the science you can study here. This is the Coral Reefs Nature's Underwater Cities exhibit. This basically explains what coral reefs are, why they're threatened, and what you can do to help save them. On display is a green sea turtle here. There are also flashlight fish and a variety of live corals cultured on site, with a tropical reef habitat and coral predators aquarium available to the public worldwide via a live webcam. As we learned during our tour, coral reefs are among the most biodiverse areas in the world ocean. They are vital among ocean ecosystems, with about 25% of all marine fish species living within coral reefs. The reefs are also highly valuable, generating billions of dollars through tourism and serving as fishing grounds, distributing fish to millions of people. This is the Pacific Visions exhibit, which tells stories about ways to achieve a sustainable future amidst climate change. This presentation helps visitors explore things like energy and water choices and how these resources are affected due to a changing climate. This exhibit is the Honda Blue Cavern, and the design replicates a popular dive site off Catalina Island, featuring marine life native to California's kelp forests and a breeding pair of giant sea bass. This is the June Keys penguin habitat here at the aquarium, home to nearly 24 Magellanic penguins, native to the coasts of Chile and Argentina. This exhibit is part of a cooperative effort with the Species Survival Plan, a program that the Association of Zoos and Aquariums administers. Part of the purpose is to help manage threatened or endangered species. And this is the world-famous Ocean Science Center, where visitors can learn about things like sea levels, marine life sustainability, and extreme weather conditions with the help of this gizmo here. This is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Science on a Sphere. Science on a Sphere displays live data sets, for example, sea surface temperature and storm systems, which help explain how the Earth, the ocean, the atmosphere, and humans are all interconnected. First interview stop on our tour, a discussion with Cassandra Davis. Cassandra Davis is the manager of volunteer programs at the Aquarium of the Pacific. Cassandra is explaining the Sea Turtle Monitoring Program. Within Southern California's San Gabriel River, there is a local population of Pacific green sea turtles. Considered threatened, this local sea turtle population has been recovering with the help of the aquarium and its monitoring program. A rescue team works with the aquarium. The aquarium then provides veterinary care, medical treatment, and rehabilitation of injured sea turtles. As Cassandra explains, for many years, sea turtles found injured or stranded across Southern California have been brought here to the aquarium for rehab and then sent back into their local habitat once healthy. Over the years, scientific data has been collected and then shared with various scientists, local agencies, and aquarium officials.
We get a better picture of what the sea turtles are doing here in Southern California, what their populations look like, and how we can help support them and create better habitats for them. Most people don't think of sea turtles being in a city like Los Angeles, but it turns out we have a lot of amazing urban wildlife, both in the city and in the ocean nearby. The green sea turtle population that we see is a population that does exist in more tropical waters. Many of them are nesting and originating from nesting beaches in Mexico. But we are seeing part of the population here along the Long Beach and Seal Beach border. It is the northernmost known population of the green sea turtles. These are reptiles. They need warmer water. We have a couple of different sources of warmer water here in Southern California.
Cassandra says that sea turtles are part of our ecosystem and are essential to what is known as the wetlands habitat and seagrass.
Seagrass is an amazing thing. It's basically a lawn underwater, but it does a lot for us. It filters the water, it gives us oxygen, it takes in carbon dioxide, which is more important than ever these days. And the sea turtles, they help to trim this seagrass, this algae, and they help to create a healthier seabed. So they really do serve at least one key purpose that we know of that benefits us.
In conjunction with the Sea Turtle Program, Cassandra says the aquarium also leads the Wetlands Restoration Program. As Cassandra tells us, researchers estimate that California has lost about 90% of its natural wetlands areas. Wetlands are a crucial habitat for many animals and migrating bird species. They also protect coastal communities from flooding, and wetlands naturally filter water. The Aquarium of the Pacific is working with the Los Cerritos Wetlands Stewardship Program to restore nearly 70 acres of wetlands. The Los Cerritos Wetlands are located near the aquarium on Pacific Coast Highway bordering both Los Angeles and Orange counties. Cassandra says these environmental restorations provide habitat for the sea turtles, as well as many types of birds, animals, and plants, basically all kinds of wildlife, including toads, snakes, frogs, and many insects that can be found in the wetland ecosystem.
If we can hold on to those last remaining wetlands and start to rebuild them, start to restore them, then we have a potential for a lot of different, what we call ecosystem services, a lot of different things that those wetlands are going to do that help us as individuals and help our planet as a whole.
Madeline Walden sure knows all about people. Madeline is the Assistant Social Media Manager for the Aquarium of the Pacific, and she is the next stop on our tour. Back in January 2020, the aquarium launched its TikTok account. Since then, the aquarium has built about 2.5 million followers. This is the most popular account of any zoo or aquarium on TikTok.
Social media allows us to connect with people worldwide and educate them and engage with them and really get them to learn more about the ocean and the amazing animals we have here at the aquarium. We want to create videos and content that is accessible to everybody. We want, no matter your education level or your age or where you come from, we want to teach you something. So it's really important for me to make all of our social media super accessible and really fun.
Madeline says their posts on TikTok can reach millions of people in just a few hours. She says this is an ideal opportunity for the aquarium to share ocean science education content with people around the globe. Madeline creates the aquarium's TikTok posts, working closely with the animal care and education departments to help generate ideas, as well as the photos and videos.
And we're able to kind of hook our followers in and get them really interested in science and get them to learn more about the conservation efforts that the aquarium is a part of. We gained over 2.5 million TikTok followers by storytelling and letting our animals here at the Aquarium of the Pacific really shine. They're incredible creatures and they make my job pretty easy. Our highest engaging content is definitely anything to do with our sea lions. They are just such interactive animals, and they're not only hilarious, they are adorable, and there's so much to learn about them. Like they develop black teeth over their lifetime, and that's 100% okay, and it's really healthy for them. So there's all of these things to learn about the animals here at the aquarium, and we're able to create these videos in a way to get people to learn even more.
Anthony Brown knows all about learning, Anthony is the Vice President of Finance and the Chief Financial Officer for the Aquarium of the Pacific. He helps lead a most unique curriculum known as the African American Scholar Program, launched back in 2020. Now, an aquarium could sound like an odd place to launch a program that involves increasing diversity awareness and helping people of color succeed with their university education. Yet Anthony says there is no better place than the aquarium.
Its goal was to attract African American students with careers that focused on the aquarium field. So that includes marine biology, life support, facilities, and even business management, to offer them an opportunity to earn a scholarship to help with their studies. The beauty of the program is that it's not just a scholarship of funds, but we have made it a point to find students and actually involve them in meetings, in initiatives here at the aquarium. This program is vital for future scientists because it brings diverse minds together to meet the challenges that our world faces, the challenges of ocean acidification, sea level rise, and global warming.
Anthony believes that this program, while identifying African American students who are studying marine sciences, really helps everyone.
Well, we believe it'll help the entire community. The world is an ocean planet. The communities that are by the ocean are stakeholders. And so we want to bring the best minds to the table to solve the challenges that we face in the future.
Anthony says the program has been a great success so far, with the program committee selecting 10 winners for the first year of scholars who were each awarded $10,000 to help pursue their career. The Aquarium of the Pacific, people helping people. And thank you to the good folks at the Aquarium of the Pacific for those interviews. Now, to further and really broaden out this discussion, joining us is Dr. Peter Kariva. Peter is the president and CEO of the Aquarium of the Pacific and one of the most renowned environmentalists and science scholars in the U.S. Peter was formerly the director of the Institute of the Environment and Sustainability at UCLA and also the former vice president of science for the Nature Conservancy. Peter, thank you so much for being here. Quite an honor, sir.
Well, really looking forward to talking with you.
We have a lot to talk about, so before I get into everything, just take about a minute, 60 seconds, to tell me about your new venture at the Aquarium of the Pacific and some of what you folks are working on over there, and then we get to all the issues.
Okay, well, you know, the Aquarium of Pacific is unique in a couple of ways. It's really community-based. It really serves the Long Beach community. And so a lot of what we do is community science, citizen science projects. 1,000 volunteers from the community make us work. So it's got that community engagement. And then we have this brand new theater. I don't know if you've seen it, David. It just opened and then got closed for COVID, but it's spectacular. And we haven't tapped into it, but the idea is to not just have live animals, but short videos, short digital media to tell stories.
We will have to take another visit out there. Now, to all the issues affecting so many Americans, give me a minute just to sort of set the stage for this interview, sort of a comprehensive question to analyze all this, and then the floor is yours. We're going to focus on climate change to begin, Peter, and obviously there's a massive divide in the U.S. over, let's say, the immediacy of climate change solutions. No one's saying whether there is or is not climate change anymore. Pretty much everybody agrees or acknowledges there is climate change. But using the President Biden infrastructure bill, Peter, as an example, this has divided so many. The Republicans are questioning all of this, how should we say, climate change related infrastructure that's been bundled, right? Bundled into the bill. Is that really infrastructure? My definition of infrastructure, at least it used to be the roads, the bridges, the tunnels, the freeways. Yes, Democrats have sort of amended their infrastructure bill, this $1 trillion bill, but there's certainly others on the way, massive pending bills we the taxpayer are going to have to spend for these environmentally friendly infrastructure modalities. So the question really is a two-parter. Talk about that, but then also when so many folks are struggling during COVID, they can't pay the rent, they can't pay the mortgage, they can't pay their bills, they're trying to survive. Many are arguing, Peter, that the Democrats and the environmentalists are disconnected with a part of the U.S. public. Give us both arguments, that centrist sort of take you always give us. It's yours to talk about.
Okay, that centrist take, all right. Well, I think you set this question up well by pointing out that we're no longer debating about whether or not climate change is happening. That's behind us. And so it's really about the urgency of it and what trade-offs and sacrifices we should make to combat it. So that's the debate. What do we have to give up to solve the climate problem? And it's probably at the crux of the debate between the partisan divide that you say. And I think both sides kind of miss the point. And they miss the point because they make it an either or question. Either we're going to address climate change or we're going to take care of economic development and jobs. And it's not an either or question. In fact, I thought it was interesting the way you used the word infrastructure, and then you kind of said, well, what's climate got to do with it? Sort of a little Tina Turner moment there for you. But what climate has to do with it is climate is a form of infrastructure. It allows us, to be comfortable in a habitat. It allows us to move from place to place. And so climate is a bit of infrastructure. But more to the point, the Republicans who chastise this spending bill for also including a lot of investment in climate solutions are off the mark when they claim that this has nothing to do with all the economic suffering people do, because climate causes economic suffering. People are, most recent heat waves, people have to go out and buy air conditioners that they never had to buy before. They pay for electricity they never had to pay for. Storms cause damage, so climate is tied to it. On the other hand, the Democrats can be a little bit myopic because they can say climate is this existential threat, and above all else, we got to solve that, and these other problems are kind of trailing problems, and they're also equally misguided. So it's an absence of, it's kind of like they can't chew gum and walk at the same time. We can do investment in climate solutions, and we can take care of the economy at the same time, but we can't be symbolic about it. It's got to be really serious and hard work, and we shouldn't cover up how much work it's going to take, and it is going to take sacrifice.
Staying along the lines of climate change, is it an existential threat? I've heard you use those terms before. Others use them. If you listen to, let's say, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, for example, some of her progressive liberal colleagues on Capitol Hill, they basically say, listen, the world is going to implode in 12 years due to climate change. Is this what you might say is a liberal talking point? Is it fear-mongering? Is it a message of doom and gloom? Or on the flip side, is this dire, and must we take this seriously, Peter?
Well, it is dire, and we must take it seriously, but it's not a threat to human existence. It's probably not even a threat to total biodiversity in the sense that species will evolve and other ones will exist. So it's not the end of the world, but we have to take it seriously because it'll mess with our lives. It'll mean there will be many days in the summer when you can't go outside. It's just too hot. I like to, when I used to do some work in Texas, I used to kind of tease my anti-climate change friends and say, look at all the football practices got canceled because of hot weather. So it's going to do more serious things. It's going to exacerbate food shortages, and it's going to add extra expense. And those of us who are affluent, that's not going to be a big deal, but for the poorer people, it is going to be a big deal. So our species is not at risk. Our planet is not at risk, but it's a disruption that can change life as we know it, I guess. And so in that sense, changing life as we know it, I guess you could call that existential.
Peter, are there challenges for you as an environmentalist when there are certain folks, often conservatives, I've heard them say it in my stories before, they sort of, I don't want to say reject the science, I don't want to label them a science denier, but you believe in a certain proven science, as do your colleagues. What are the challenges when dealing with all this, particularly with regards to the environment and climate change, Peter?
You know, I think the whole notion of how science sort of plays into making these really major policy decisions is troubling, because it's not helping us as much as it should. I think we all realize that. You know, when we talk about fake news and people denying science, but in some sense, I think our institutions just haven't caught up to where society is at. It's less of a, you know, everybody uses fear-mongering to promote their agenda, both liberals and conservatives. So it's just that we don't have the institutions to allow an ordinary citizen to gather information and be able to detect what is a totally unreliable and ridiculous source and what is not, and what is a really reliable and authentic source. We don't have the institutions to do that. When there were only 2 networks or 3 networks, you just watched, Walter Cronkite and believe him or something. And so we don't have institutions to guide us through the information overload that science is. And that's what I see the problem. I actually think it's a major problem for society.
Peter, if there ever were a person I wanted to ask this next question to, it is you, because I really want to get your centrist opinion on all of this, very fair, unbiased opinion. The Aquarium of the Pacific, your aquarium, has, it's phenomenal, nearly 2.5 million followers on TikTok. That's insane, especially how the aquarium is able to use social media to teach people about science and the environment, not just here in the US, really all over the world. Yet with that said, as you know, big tech is basically censoring anyone they disagree with. So they agree with your science and they certainly want to hear about all your science, but in this new era of cancel culture, political correctness, for example, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I am making no judgment. However, if you approve of President Trump, you're censored, it's done, you're off social media. If you question the science of COVID, you're canceled. If you even dare have a question or question the vaccine, social media cancels you. Yes, this is an amazing tool for the aquarium, gets your message out. How do you walk, again, another fine line when social media does so much good, but it also is quelling the voices, particularly conservative voices, when they want to be heard? What's your opinion about all of this, Peter?
Well, one person's canceled culture is another person's accountability culture. Yeah. So that I don't think the problem actually is tech in this. I think the problem is the lack of conversations. We can't talk to anybody who thinks differently than us. And that's one of the things I like to do at the aquarium. If I worry about tech, it's the surveillance culture of tech that horrifies me. That's what people should be going after them for. The fact that they gather all this information in a non-transparent way to manipulate your behavior, and they have it and we don't. So that's not where I wouldn't go after tech for the cancel culture. I would go after society for not being able to have institutions and venues for real conversations.
Why aren't we having those real conversations, Peter? Why can't liberals, why can't conservatives, Republicans, Democrats, corporate America, Main Street USA, why can't we be in this together and find solutions and just talk to each other, not talk over each other, just talk to each other?
Well, I think I suppose that is partly social media's problem, because social media allows us to construct our conversation circle and control it to such an extent we're only talking to people that are like us. You can't walk into a bar and sit down and have that control. You can't go to a ball game and have that control with respect to who's sitting next to you and you're going to talk to. But if all our conversations are digital, you can control who you're talking to. So get out in the real world and talk to somebody, talk to a stranger.
Well, I am talking to you, and it is greatly appreciated. Dr. Peter Kariva, thank you so much for a great discussion.
Thank you, David.
And now for more information about our program, just click on klcs.org and then click Contact Us to send us your questions and comments, or story ideas so we can hear from you. And be sure to catch our program here on PBS or catch us on the PBS mobile app for all things sustainable. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Sustaining Us here on KLCS PBS. I'm David Nazar.